Welcome to my brand new FPL series 5 Teams 5 Strategies, where I have gathered together 4 other FPL managers that play FPL completely differently. Got us all in a mini league right here, and I'll be comparing the different players, the different strategies, and different ways to play FPL every game week. We have an AI team from a manager that spends more time on spreadsheets than with their own family. A casual manager who thinks football is played on grass and watches match of the day more often than looking at their FPL team. We have my team, which is usually a combination of stats I test, but also a bit of spice in there too. Then we have the set and forget zombie team from a manager that will set up the team to not be touched all season, and an anti-FPL manager where the goal is to score the least amount of points possible. 5 different teams, 5 different strategies. Which tactic wins? Well, let's hope the anti-FPL team doesn't win, because otherwise that would be unlucky. The first Game Week 1 team reveal we have here is the AI team. Now, if you are a cheeky scrub using FPL models, you're probably quite clued up in FPL, right? So this one right here should probably be the most engaged team and manager we have. FPL models do seem to claim that penalty takers are the best players in the world, but even though having them in FPL is a good thing, a crap player is still a crap player if they have penalties. FPL models don't seem to think so. So this team right here looks like it's got a full front 7 of penalty takers who should all be nailed for 90 minutes almost every game too, which these AI models literally cream over. If they got both of them, they're the best players in the world. So no wonder why this manager has got them in his lineup. Looks like there may be a bit of rotation going on potentially too, with Smith Rowe on the bench, who I guess could come on for João Pedro. When using these AI models, it always tries to convince you to have the perfect team every week by rotating fixtures of players, where it sometimes suggests benching some of the big boys for some crap boys just because of the fixture. That's right, Haaland is never going to score against Chelsea. Chris Wood though, best player. So, you know, sometimes if you do that and listen to these FPL AIs, it's just going to be a big boy unlucky, not for me. The defense here seems very fixture focused, but still pretty solid, and overall is still a pretty sexy team, even though it's not quite what I'd like. I am interested to see how this team does and what different decisions are made compared to the rest of the teams throughout the season, as I'm not expecting like any hits at all, and I am expecting potentially a roll of transfers, and this will probably be the only team that could get close to the 5 free roll transfers. That will be interesting to see. My team then is still looking like this. I revealed it in my team selection video yesterday, which you should definitely go and check out after this video. Yeah, cheers. But I am still sticking with the Haaland and Saka draft, Mo Salah being a no Salah, but I just love how balanced this squad is despite having Haaland and all of some other big boys too. I will likely at this current time not make any changes from this team unless we hear some news about the likes of Jota, Hall, Eze and Solanke, because it turns out I got quite a lot of risks in my team. But if any of them look like an even bigger risk, then maybe I won't risk them for Game Week 1. I'm expecting my team to look pretty damn similar to the AI team as we go through the game weeks, but that's just because I expect that manager to be an absolute FPL nerd like myself. Yeah, fair. Moving on to the complete opposite of that then, we have the casual FC team with this. Now, my casual manager hadn't made a single change to their first draft they sent me, and only just changed it when I asked them for their final team. They were like, oh, hold up, I need to actually look at my team. So yeah, I think I found a proper casual. But actually, when I first looked at this team, I was like, hang on, that looks very solid, almost too good for an FPL casual. I'm starting to think this guy's a fraud. But then I saw Palmer, Rodri on the bench, Rice, Trippier, Van Dijk. Never mind. They are a proper dirty casual. I almost expect this team to do just as good, if not better, than the AI teams right from the start, because they're not worried about this ownership or whatever. They just go for the players they want, and sometimes that can be better. But then I do expect it to drop off, as I expect the manager to drop off, as he's probably not spending hours and hours on his FPL team like us nerds. I will try and remind this manager every week about their team so that they don't just forget about FPL team and this becomes a zombie team. But I am also thinking if I remind them every week, they'll probably end up taking hits every week, because that's just what casuals do. So it might actually be better for them to not make any changes. Which is exactly the same as this team, being the set and forget zombie team. The idea with this team is not a single change will be made all season. No transfers, no captain switch at all. And the manager I have chosen has had some success with this too, so I'm expecting big boy things. I think what's already different with a zombie team compared to an actual FPL team is the depth on the bench. where usually we don't want to spend too much money on our bench, but every single bench player here should be starting for their team and is ready to be subbed on when there are just those injury suspensions and all that jazz, as of course the auto subs will happen, but they'll have to happen as auto subs because no changes will be made. I would have thought it's quite risky putting this much money into 2 players when it's probably better to have a much more rounded and balanced squad for a zombie team, but I guess Haaland and Saka being captain and vice captain, yeah, that kind of makes sense at least. I expect this team to do very well right at the start when everyone is fit and ready, and he could even compete with the rest of the teams here. So I just hope we don't see too many injuries, otherwise it's just not going to keep up. So I am interested to see how long it can keep up for, and maybe it could be all season. But yeah, if there are 4 or 5 injuries, it's just going to be one big boy unlucky. It will end up scoring absolutely no points. Which is exactly what this team is trying to do, and is our final team in the 5 teams 5 strategy series, the anti-FPL team. Now, I haven't ever tried anti-FPL, but it does have a decent sized community, a popular Discord, and a lot of people play it. Despite actually being played in FPL, they actually have their own point scoring system and rules to follow too. One of those being, you have to spend a certain amount of your budget. I think it's like 97 million, which is why this anti-FPL team has got a bench stronger than most people's teams. Like, why is Raya, De Bruyne, Salah, and Haaland on the bench? But I think the idea and the main strategy for anti-FPL is to choose players that are guaranteed to play, but play for the worst teams and the worst fixtures, so they just don't get any goals, assists, or clean sheets. But because you have to spend that budget, you put the most expensive boysies on the bench here to try and use most of it, but you do still need to have some good players in your team to still spend all of that budget. So what else they try and do is get in these expensive attackers that play for usually the big teams, because they're usually the more expensive players, like a Mount and a Mudryk here, but they aren't likely to start, but they are likely to get some minutes, hopefully only 5 or 10 for the anti-FPL team, because then they can get the 1 point cameos, which is an equivalent of like a hat trick for an anti-FPL team. Looking at this, I feel like playing anti-FPL just sounds really easy, right? Like, choosing players that actually score goals and points is quite hard, so choosing a team that doesn't sounds pretty easy, right? But then I realize a team like this will actually randomly outscore my actual team in any given FPL game week, because that's just how FPL works. Nice one. I am really excited to see how this team does in this series, though, and I hope for the life of me, for the life of this YouTube channel, that it doesn't get anywhere close an FPL score of my actual team in a game week, because if it beats me in a single game week, I swear I contemplate deleting my channel. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how it does. So that right there is the 5 teams, 5 strategies revealed and ready for game week 1. I am really excited for this series, and I feel like I've picked a great bunch of managers that stick to their strategy, as that's just how they normally play FPL. But seeing all these different ways of playing FPL, you know, not only do you see the different strategies, but you get to see all the different players and just different ways to have fun. So be sure to keep checking in to see how these teams and strategies and managers and teams are doing, and I'm really interested to see which tactic will win. If it's the anti-FPL team, like what's going on. But if the zombie and the casual manager can stick up there, oh boy, we're in for an exciting ride. That's going to be all for today. Thanks for watching, and also remember,
don't be a cheeky scrub. Subscribe to Nathan Bacon right now. Don't let your memes be dreams.